Hi, everyone. Welcome to Friends of Disney.
Welcome, friends.
And if you haven't noticed at
And
all
you
by now,
haven't checked the TikTok or the Instagram, please do.
we have new audio equipment, so now we are able to sound more clear to all of you. And
Displaying the mics with my my pretty hands of lavender and hollow.
but
Not sponsored by Christine Nail Logical. We just love your nail polish.
yes, we love Holotaco. Um, but yeah, we're excited about this new equipment and how you guys will be able to experience our episodes and all of our crazy antics. That being said,
With better quality sound.
better quality sound and now better video that we've had recently. So yeah, if you want to continue supporting us in our endeavors to make a much better podcast for you as listeners, or even just your experience with our podcast, please remember to please subscribe to our YouTube channel, or you can become a member on our new patreon.com/, friends of Disney podcast. And we have a basic membership right now of $2 a month, and with some benefits included in that. So please come out and support
Like
us
calling you out in our episodes.
and deciding what our episodes are about. So
Any suggestions too, we will accept those at friendsofdisneypod@gmail.com.
or leave a comment below or on one of our Instagram posts or TikTok posts.
Because we have yet to receive comments. We would like feedback,
Yes, we would
please.
love to hear from you guys.
So subscribe, follow, listen up.
And,
It's Disney time.
and today we have a special kind of episode. If you caught our previous episode of just discussing live action Disney remakes, today we are doing a live action versus animation comparison on Lady and the Tramp. And sadly enough, Megan's not here with us. As we've said in prior episodes, she is pregnant, and so she's just not doing great today and won't be able to join us. But yeah, so we're comparing Lady and the Tramp, the original Disney animated version, versus the 2019 remake. Overall, general overview, what was your impressions, Jonelle?
The animated one was so cute.
I personally, honestly, liked the live action better.
I was like, they're both so cute. I like the music better in the animated. The live action, it's more realistic dogs, and just
I think they did a fantastic job at like matching real dogs to the dogs that were
in the
animated in the original. Like that was perfect. Like I wasn't like the only real issue was that lady was not as floofy or like as like
yeah,
large floofy fur.
floppy ears,
But like
floppy.
but I mean she was a cocker spaniel in the original animated one, and they got a real cocker spaniel. So
Also, this was something I noticed. The animated, they had a son, right? And then
no, they did have a girl in
I
it.
thought the baby was a boy, and then
Mm.
so there's also some time between we watched the animated and the live action. So
That is very true. We watched the animated a couple weeks ago, and then we
yeah.
just watched the live action so we could do this comparison video. But
So the refresher on the animated is not as strong.
just talking through the episode, the openings comparing the two were very different. Like
Yeah.
I know in the animated they opened with a dedication of this movie is for man's best friend dogs. Like they dedicated the movie to dogs, and they didn't do that for the live action one. But I really liked the overture that they've been doing for a lot of their recent movies, like the original animated Lady and the Tramp. They opened up with that really pretty, like Christmassy song,
Oh, yes.
and they did do that for this one,
They also ended it with the Christmas song.
but that's because it ended on Christmas too.
Yeah.
But before for the live action one, they opened it with kind of more like an overture, where it's like a melt, like a what's the word I'm looking for?
All I can think from the
It's a medley of like the different songs throughout the movie, ending with that same pretty Christmas song as it zooms in onto the house and everything, which I do appreciate that.
I was like, all I can think of is her singing La La Lu, which so beautiful.
But and then like we see the same openings in either movie of like like it's Christmas time. Jim Deere gives his wife Darling a hat box and she opens the box and we see that it's Lady. And immediately I already love this scene more within the live action because we actually got to see Jim Deere and Darling's faces and
Yeah.
their expressions. In the animated one, it was like Tom and Jerry, where you didn't get to see their faces.
Yeah, they were like the animated ones, it's like you were always seeing their back or like
Like literally
yeah.
everything but the head.
Yeah. But to be fair, I mean, Megan made a comment on this, and obviously Megan's not here, but she talked about it from a dog's perspective.
Yeah, and I think that's like the one like a very stark difference of like they really pushed for the animated to be from a dog's perspective versus this live
Live
action
action.
one where it was like the movie as a whole. Not like you see the parts through the dog's perspective, obviously, because it's about the dogs, but at this, but you
The
still
amount of puns made in the live action too.
so many puns.
uh,
But so I appreciated that difference in the movie, and I also appreciate that they made Jim Deere less of an ass. Like in the
Reliable. Sorry, I just keep thinking
and
about old reliable.
and like we see Lady like she keeps like she was whining and stuff because they're like trying to put her in the other room and she keeps trying to get up to the bedroom to be with the owners and stuff. In the animated, he's a lot more harsh and strict with her, but in the live action, he's so much more playful.
Yeah.
Like he demonstrates the love for the dog so much more than in the animated, which people always say you get more expression in the animation, but I feel like this movie did a better job at displaying like the on the expression front than the animated did.
Also, this is like something I paid very much more attention to in the live action was how loyal the dogs are to
Mhm.
their owners and their family.
It shows a lot of truth about dogs because dogs are very loyal. They really are. We both own cats and we love our cats, but
Okay, I'm sorry, but Percy is more loyal than Sadie was. Like Sadie, I loved her. I loved her so much. But straight up, she'd run out of the house just to go smell a flower. She was like Ferdinand the Bull. It was adorable. But man, sometimes she was on her own world and I had nothing to do with it. And Percy's the same way, but he never leaves me.
yeah.
Like Percy knows I'm his person and he's just like we're in this together forever. And I'm like, all right, got it, cat.
Yeah. And like as we move forward in the film, like we see like it parallels the animation very well of like following kind of the same storyline, but you still see the differences too. Like we got to see more of Jacques, one of Lady's friends.
Was Jacques also, sorry, like I kind of hate to bring up, like,
I
I
can't
thought Jacques was like a male dog in the
I
animated
I think Jacques is a male dog, but he had a more feminine
feminine.
voice
Yeah.
for this movie, which I don't have an issue with. I
I was
I
just very confused.
I just miss like the more Scottish accent that he had in the animated.
Yeah, and that's what I was kind of like
Mhm.
thinking, and I was just like, oh, like Jacques not Jacques. Like,
Yeah, but I mean, we see like the same comparisons. Like they did add details. Like we saw that Jacques' owner was a painter, and Jacques
yeah.
would wear like, all these outfits and stuff, and that's like a cute detail that they added in. Um, and we get introduced into the ant much earlier than normal than the animated one because
So before we move on with the ant,
I'm at the baby shower.
well, she keeps mentioning cats. Before we move on with her and then cats.
Mm-hmm.
The opening of the animated was much different than the opening of the live action in terms on Disney Plus. There was no disclaimer for the live action,
Well, yeah,
which when we talked about it, you thought was related to the cat song.
which it was.
Okay, I
You
was
can tell by what they changed in this version.
yeah, I was like, there's huge.
That's
Now we can proceed with the ant, but
well, no. So we get introduced into the ant, who is, in all honesty, the antagonist of this movie. Well,
should we see that on Disney Villainous?
no.
Uh-huh.
Um, but the aunt is at the baby shower, and we see right away that no, she's going to be an issue to Lady, and is more concerned with the baby than the dog.
She
Right away,
only wants to see the baby.
yes, and like when it comes like the baby's born and everything, and everyone's excited, then Jim and Darling go, like they leave on their trip, which in the animated the baby stays. This is where I love where they made the difference, because they took the baby with them in the live action, but in the animated the baby stayed. And in the live action they told the aunt, no, you're dog sitting, which the aunt was immediately upset with that and went into her room to practice her singing and left her cats out, which, nice job, you're dog sitting and you leave the dog. But and versus the animated, where she was babysitting and that's all her focus was on the baby, which I really like how they played that out more, because it showed more of her ignorance towards
The dog.
the dog, like towards Lady, because yeah, one can argue, yeah, I was more concerned with the baby than the dog. But this one, like the point is to show how much she did not like dogs, and her one job she failed at. And the fact that by the end of the movie, because they broke up this movie, rather than being one long movie, they broke it out into two storylines. Like this is a 2 hour long movie, which I'm pretty sure is longer than the animated.
I didn't realize it went by pretty fast.
It went by too pretty fast, because they basically took this two main points of the storyline and broke it
Mhm.
to where we got the timeline of Lady, the aunt, trying to get the muzzle on her and her being out with Tramp. We got that storyline all the way through, her getting at the pound, and then her getting picked up from the pound because they have her collar, and it's her owners that pick her up, and they go home and they tell I think it's Aunt Sarah, that she's no longer done, like no, like they're pissed at her, she's done with, she's not doing it again. Whereas in the animated, that plus the scene where Tramp saves the baby with the rat and everything happen at once. This one, Lady ends up back with her family,
Mm.
and then we hit, for another 45 minutes, we hit that second plot point of how Tramp gets to be part of the family, and Lady and Tramp's relationship after he ditched her. He full on ditched her.
I was expecting puppies, like the animated.
Yeah, but I mean, there were still puppies.
Just not Lady and Tramp's puppies.
Yes, and the live action Lady and Tramp didn't have their puppies like they at the end of the movie,
That
like
would have
they
been
did in the
so
anime.
cute. I
But
want
also,
their pup.
also, I think we need to give a great shout out to these actors. Like one, the person who played Aunt Sarah was, I don't remember her last name, but her name's Yvette, but she played Helen on Drake and Josh.
Mhm.
So they had her playing Aunt Sarah, and she was amazing. And then it took me a while, and I don't remember the actress's name, but the gal who plays Darling is also the gal who plays Kira Starr from Austin and Ally, Jimmy Starr's daughter that Austin goes out with.
Hmm.
Took me forever to figure out who it was. Um, and then I don't know I should really look up remember these actors' names, but like these actors did such a great job playing their characters, like, and showing like that Jim and Darling were like skeptical of the dog catcher, and we're like, really, you're focused on this one dog, really, that you still don't have?
Yeah.
Like I really loved how they, like the actors they chose and how well they performed in these roles for this movie.
I also want to go on the beaver scene.
Was the beaver scene in the live action? No.
There was a beaver statue that lady put the muzzle on, and then Tramp told her to pull while he was trying to unbuckle to get her out of the muzzle.
Whereas in the animated, they had an actual beaver who was the same voice as Gopher from Winnie the Pooh.
Go and snap it right off.
Yeah, quite literally.
Yeah, which is why I was like, oh.
But no, I I do like this one better, like the live action better. Like they fixed a lot of things that I just felt like I was missing in the animated, Like seeing that relationship of Jim Darling fleshed out more, seeing the relationship between Lady and the baby that we learned her name is Lulu. Like
And
it's
if you didn't watch the previous episode, please watch it of us talking about live action Disney movies. This is one of the better ones.
yeah, this is like we are considering making a live action versus animations, like just make it a series on this podcast. If you'd love to see that, please let us know in the comments if you'd like to see more live action versus animation, because there are good live action movies. Like this one is a really good remake,
I
and
can't wait till we do Beauty and the Beast someday. I
I am too. But
evermore.
anyways, we're not on Beauty and the Beast.
I'm sorry, but it's a good song, and I talked about it with my therapist because we were talking about what we're going to talk about today. And I was just like, I can't wait till we do Beauty and the Beast. And she's like, Evermore. And I'm like, Evermore.
But no, like I really like how they changed the Siamese cat song.
I
I
also
loved how they changed it, because in the animated movie, if you haven't seen it for some reason, go check it out.
we are
They
so
had this song that was very weird, creepy, and
if
was
you
very
please.
like pushy towards making fun of like Asian style
Asian.
music.
Yeah.
Um, and they changed it for the live action for this very like jazzy number, which I really appreciate because it was a lot more fun of a song, and it played with the more mischievous side that cats have of like knocking stuff over, which is
Of redecorating the living room, which was, I thought that was quite comical because Apollo at my house, he is that cat.
yeah.
Like straight up, he's like, cup, boop.
Mm-hmm. Our cats are like that at night, and again, like I feel like they embraced the nature of the cats, and the song reflected that more versus the Siamese cat song, which was not well done at all. It was really bad, and that's the biggest change I think in the movie. Out of everything we could have thought of why the disclaimer was in the movie, with how big of a change that was, I think that was the reason they had that disclaimer in the beginning of the animated. For those who don't know, a lot of the older Disney movies like Peter Pan and Lady and the Tramp, they have disclaimers at the very beginning of the movie.
And you can't skip them on Disney Plus.
You can't. They are only like I think 10 seconds maybe. But they basically give a disclaimer saying some stuff portrayed is not a reflection of the Disney company's values, or like they acknowledge how it was misrepresentation,
Mm-hmm.
um and so they put that at the front of their movies and everything. And um we were talking about like what that could have meant for the animated live action Disney movie. Like I think we've looked at the Siamese cat song, um how in the animated movie Tramp actually calls Lady Pudge or Pidge a lot,
Yeah, pitch.
which he never does in the live action, which it made me happy.
I honestly didn't mind the nickname too much.
I just thought it was odd to me. I wasn't a fan of it.
See, I'm not really one to judge on people's nicknames that they give each other
Mhm.
because, like, I know, like, in my past relationships, if I give someone a nickname, like, I would try and like throw in different nicknames here and there, but then I'm like, nah, you're just babe or you're just baby, that's it.
I have too many nicknames. Like I mean, like my I've had nicknames of Crawfish, Jonathan, Seanjamin, Crocodile. That's a long story one.
See, here's the only nicknames that I've really gotten:
Mhm.
Joe and Nelly.
Mm.
because my name is Jonelle.
I have been called Crawdad and Crawdaddy before.
I'm not calling you either one of those. Sorry.
One of Megan's nicknames for me is Pooh, like from Winnie the Pooh.
Now for my cat and my
Mhm.
dog, um, Sadie, I had Jelly Bean,
Mhm.
my little Pinto Bean, my Pinto Bean, Pinto. Oh, she was like a brown mixture dog, very beautiful, very soft. But like every time I was around her, she would curl up and she kind of looked like a pinto bean. So I'm just like,
Yeah,
my little bean.
but
And then there was also my little girl,
mhm.
and then Percy's little boy, Percy,
um
son. I don't.
one thing I'm
Oh,
so
and Black Bean for.
um so I know that the animated Lady and the Tramp obviously takes place in like more like
Yes.
London times and stuff. That the setting definitely changed for the live action. I don't know if you feel the same way because like the actors didn't act with a accent at all. Um
Also, don't mind me. I'm looking for a fidget.
and the um even like the scenery, like there was like boats going around with like jazz music. There was a lot of jazz music in this, and it almost gave me a kind of feeling of like New Orleans.
Yeah, I will.
Like
It,
even they didn't even call it a license; they called it a collar, which I don't know if that's a dating just change or what. But that was another change I noticed. And so it was one of those things where it's like I don't know if the location changed, but everything that contributed to hinting of like the animated being set in London, more London times, that changed to now to
this
this live action.
gave like more. Yeah, how's a good way like maybe late
I
1800s.
was thinking early 19,
Yeah.
like again like the swinging 20s New Orleans jazz style
I
coming.
wasn't gonna say like New Orleans. I was definitely thinking like Southern. Um,
I was thinking around New I was thinking New Orleans mostly because of the jazz influence because and especially like the riverboats
mhm.
because we see Lady and Tramp go on a riverboat that has like the jazz music and stuff playing. And so I think that's where my mind goes to New Orleans because that's a huge thing. Jazz music is like common down there,
But
Dixieland.
then I look at the outfits
Hmm.
and I don't think
That's that's the issue. I feel like setting wise, I'm not sure where this is supposed to be taking place, whereas the animation gave a lot clearer image as to location.
this is why I say like more of like a Kentucky type of area where it's not
Interesting.
necessarily like
Yeah.
it's in the South, but it's still up northern enough, you know?
Yeah, like one of the like kind of like the classic South of like Southern Bells type of South.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
like maybe where you see some of that like migration and
Oh yeah.
yeah, and you're seeing that change in because like when I took African American literature, I'm having to go way back to my senior year of high school when I took my college course in this. Um we went over the history, though, of African American music and literature and how it went from slavery to this more of jazz culture up into the North and, you know, the whole freedom
Mhm.
movement, and then eventually on to Martin Luther King Jr. So that's kind of like post-slavery era, obviously. So more of this integration, which is why I'm thinking still in the South, because most still chose to live in the South for
Mm.
fact of that's where housing was for them and a full but like still having integration. Um, but you got to see more of this expression of music and then um I was trying to pay attention also to references of like any prohibition.
I didn't get any hints of prohibition. I think it's because not neither movie, animated or live action, ever hinted at alcohol at all.
Yeah, well, the animated probably never, but because it was not American, I was paying more attention to it for the live action because that type of music was more around the Prohibition era.
Well, yeah,
But
and
we see that there's actually some cars, and then there's actually cars that are still being drove around with the horses, like
mhm,
the dog pound.
yeah,
So that's why I'm thinking it's that era.
mhm,
Um, just given from what I learned at school.
yeah. Um, Continuing on with talking about the music though.
I just realized I went on a total rant. I'm
You're
sorry.
good. You're good. You're good. I mean, like, it's hard to say. Like, again, like, I feel like the setting in the live action was a lot more lost compared to the animated.
Yeah.
Um, but like looking on the music and like, because the original had a lot of the only real jazz song was He's a Tramp. But in this one, they changed the Siamese Cat song to a jazz number, which was a great change. I loved that this version so much more. And
I
then
think that's also because you like jazz music, though.
actually, no. So, despite all things, I am a saxophone player, but I prefer classical music over jazz music, both playing and listening. So,
I listen to EDM. I go to raves.
but
Do with
I,
that as you will.
but I did like I appreciated how they kind of like unified the soundtrack a little bit into a specific genre a little bit. Like they kept Bella Notte,
Hmm.
but I like
I liked the animated version of Bella Notte.
what I don't what I like more when it comes to the live action versions is it being less in your face. Like the animated one is a lot bigger and louder and just overall like I don't want to say overdone, but it's a little over the top.
It's
For
definitely what you think of like cheesy Italian.
exactly.
But I like it. It was cute.
But in this one it was still cute though. Like but it was like more like
But I
it was a
wanted
it
Ratatouille cute.
okay, how do we that was the other part of what the possible disclaimer was, Jonelle. We are not here to promote stereotypes. I like how they change it to be a little more Italian inspired, a little bit more.
I was just
And
thinking of the chef.
yes, I like the chefs a little bit more in the animated.
Well, no,
But
that's what I was thinking of, like Italian cute was the chef.
I really liked the song the Bella Notte version in the live action because it was a lot more romantic, a lot more suave. And rather than catering to Tramp in like how they did in the anime, where they're like, "Oh, Tramp is here, give him the food." They're like, "Oh, Tramp is here." I'm like, "Oh, wait, he brought a lady friend. Oh yeah, well, let's do this for him. Give him the table, give him the special, play the nice music." Like it was such a it took an already like cheesy romantic scene that is a staple that everyone knows about, but elevated it by really adding on the romance factor to it rather than being the over top cheesy Italians.
I thought it was also very funny when they got into finishing the spaghetti together and Lady was just like immediately was like no like sorry
New territory.
yeah uh
But and then he's a tramp. I loved how they like it was relatively the same song. Like they had the other dogs barks harmonizing and stuff like that, which I
Mhm.
still love that element of the music as well so much. But it's still one of those things where it's like they took something that was good, but they made it better and orchestrated it better. Like whoever arranged the live action one, they saw it, but then they made it better.
Mhm.
And like and as a musician that's always hard to do, especially if you're writing music because you're never going to write a perfect song, but you got to feel something you feel happy with, but there are other arrangements that are better. Like
Also, in case if anyone, sorry, I feel like I have the need to like to say this. If anyone's knowing what I'm like playing with, they're just wax beads. So like you know how you put wax seals on things? This was all I had to fidget with, so they're just like the little beads for wax
can I hold
seals. Yeah.
oh thank you. But anyway,
And then I put one in my thing of hot chocolate because I wanted to see if it was going to melt.
um what are your thoughts on Tramp and Lady's relationship animation versus the live action?
Um, Honestly, I think I liked the relationship better in the live action because, and I mean, like, this is kind of how I like to like me and my therapist were talking about this too, about navigating relationships, but Lady and Tramp in the live action, you see them kind of come across like some of more personal stories to them.
Yeah.
And the part, obviously where Lady like pulls away, you can see some of that, not like, oh my gosh, I'm immediately love stricken. It's like developing, you see actually developing relationships.
Well, and in the animation, there wasn't really any character growth for
Yeah.
Tram, really. Like, because they broke out the storyline into two parts, where it's just like the opening of like the stuff with Aunt Sarah and Lady being away from home, and then the situation with the rat and stuff. Because
Well, and then in the live action, obviously Tramp has taken Lady around the town, because
they
she was
they
like,
did that in
I need
both.
to head home. And then he's like, that's not the way home. And she's like, well, then I'll go this way. And he's like, still not the way home.
Well, and Tramp did that in the animated too, where he still showed her around the town and stuff, and they're like at the park looking over at the city.
Yeah, I was gonna emphasis on the part though of like where she realized she was having fun and she was going to continue on being like, well, I guess we could do that. And then he's like, but don't you need to go home? And then she's like, I guess you're right.
See, I feel like in the animated, Tramp is more concerned with trying to be right about having human owners and having a home and stuff. Like that's what he's focused on, being right. And I really like how they had this time together and you can see the bond forming, but then he falls back into his old ways and ditches her when she gets captured by the dog catcher, even though she went back for him. And yeah, she got to go home and stuff, but then you see the scene where he sees the other dogs from the pound that are now have owners,
Hmm.
and they're like, dude, you effed up and you know it. And he ends up admitting, he goes, yeah, you're right. I fucking screwed up. This sucks. And stuff because he was so happy with her and he realized what wrong he did. And they actually showed that growth. And like in the live action, they showed his character a lot more about how he was prior to Lady. Like he walked past two poodles and he goes, are you guys twins? And one of the poodles goes, dude, I'm her husband. And he goes, oh,
That was so funny.
it was funny, but it showed that how much he was a playboy
Yeah.
and like didn't take anything seriously. And you really got to see the impact that Lady made on him and him going to talk to her. And the fact the pound dogs were like, oh yeah, did this guy have many names? Butch, Spot, and stuff. Like they showed her his colors and everything, but then when he went back to her house and stuff to confront her to talk to her, because he realized he effed up, it showed the growth because she still was like, no, go save the baby. I can't get there, you know? Which I appreciated so much more compared to the animated, where it felt like he was just trying to be right.
Yeah.
And
And this was showing that he was saving the baby because he actually cared
yeah.
about Lady and the baby.
And looking at her friends, like, yeah, their friends were more or less the same about Tramp, like he's a street dog and stuff like that. And Lady did stand up and say, no, no, all the street dogs are just the same as us. We're just lucky to have homes, which is an important message and stuff that didn't happen in the animated version. And
Do you think that could also be part of why there was maybe a disclaimer in the anime?
no, because there was a prejudice. We can all say that we all know people that have prejudices against shelter dogs versus purebreds or mixed breeds. There is dog prejudice, but that's not something that would need a content one because dogs aren't the ones watching it.
I mean, I don't know. Oh my
But
God.
that's like um but another change I really like in the animated movie at the end of the movie, the dog catcher is going around
Annette.
with no
Oh,
the dog catcher is like going back to the pound with Tramp.
yeah.
Caught Tramp and stuff. after Tramp killed the rat, and Tramp was injured because he hurt his leg fighting the rat. And Lady and them are chasing after the dog catcher, just like in the animated. And um,
Old Yeller.
Old Reliable.
Yeah. Why
Sorry.
did I say Old Yeller? Okay, I was.
Sorry, in the animated version, the one of the dogs, not Jacques, the other one, he refers to, like, I think it's either his grandpa or like his nose is like Old Reliable.
His nose
And
as
he
Old
and
Reliable.
and he always refers, like, what he always said was Old Reliable, which I kind of missed his voice in the animated, won't lie, like in the live action. But all three of them are like chasing down this dog catcher, and in the animated, um he and same dog, I can't remember his name, who says "oh reliable" and
I
stuff.
like look up
He
the dog's name.
he like ends up knocking over the cart and stuff, and ends up getting injured and everything in the animated. But that changed in the live action one. Like in the animated, they did a full on death fake out. I was pissed about it. I hated that they did a death fake out because they made it seem like that dog was dead, only to cut to a couple scenes later and the dog was alive.
Oh, wait, is that the person who? Trusty. Sam Elliott
Trusty.
played. Man. Okay, sorry. I was like, his voice sounded so familiar. Okay, so there's this Netflix show that's like that goes off of like.
Can we talk about that?
But Sam Elliott was.
Okay.
Anyways, so there's like this southern comedy like sitcom, I forgot what it's called, but Sam Elliott plays like the dad in this, and I was trying to figure out where his voice was so familiar. Now I realize it's Trusty.
But Trusty, in the live action, Trusty ends up not getting injured by the dog catcher's thing at all. And we don't have a death fake out, but instead Tramp is the one that continues being injured and who they try to wake up. And he does end up being woken up and stuff, and he has a really bad injured leg. But I'm thankful that they kind of changed that because it showed how much Lady cared for Tramp,
Yeah.
and it doesn't hurt our feelings with faking a dog's death.
Here's something that I wanted to point out though, with more specifically with Trusty in the animated versus the live action.
Yeah.
So in the or the animated, Trusty, like it's like all of a sudden his senses start working
Yes.
when they had not worked for years prior. And then in the live action, you see him working really hard, like to try and track this scent, like going back to what he knows. Um, I just kind of like wanted to point out something that like is kind of like what you could perceive maybe in the animated versus the live action. So like in the animated, you know how people are getting very close to their deathbed and then all of a sudden they have that burst of energy. Like that's kind of the sense I got from Trusty in the animated versus in the live action. It was just kind of like retouching an old memory.
I could see that. For human behavior, that would probably be very close to true, but Trusty wasn't really exhibiting any um other symptoms of like impending death.
Well, he is an older dog.
He is an older dog, but even like there are older people who are, like, you could argue are closer to death. Like they'll be like 70, 80 years old. They don't have control of their bladders at that time, or like when I'm taking care of them in the hospital,
Sadie. Sorry.
but they can still relearn how to control their bladder. There is such thing as bladder training, where you can relearn how to control your bladder. And so him regaining his ability to use his scent, like his sense of smell, I didn't see of it being lost because you saw hints of it, how good at his senses were. They were just a little bit off. Like in the anime, there was that caterpillar he was sniffing that he described it to a T, but he was attributing it to being human and like 6 feet tall, not caterpillar that's 6 inches long and stuff. But like he had described the caterpillar perfectly though. So like his senses were still really good and you could see that. But they weren't as good as they used to be. You know?
Yeah.
But no,
I created a flower, y'alls. Oh wait, I'll give it. Yes, flower. Anyways,
anyways, but no, I feel like extending from our conversation on live action Disney remakes, I feel like the way they did this movie was very well done. Like they changed stuff, but they made it better. They took the original storyline exactly. They kept the original storyline to a T, but they changed it a little bit.
yeah,
They broke out the storyline a little bit, turned it probably from I think it was like an hour and a half long movie to a 2 hour movie. They were able to add a whole another half hour of stuff by breaking out the two storylines.
yeah.
And stuff, but like they were able to develop stuff more. They added stuff to it in the right ways, you know? Like they developed a relationship between Lady and Tramp more. We got to see more interaction between Lady and her owners.
Which was very nice.
And we got to see the owners stand up for Lady and tell Aunt Sarah, no, you're not watching again. You're like, goodbye. You did your one job wrong.
I'm just thinking back to when we were talking about when we watched the animated and we were talking about that, how often Megan had to keep helping us with the time of events.
Yeah, the animated movie, it was so hard to keep track, like what happened when, because they changed the pace of the movie so fast with like trying to introduce the baby and the baby shower and Lady learning about what's going on and her interactions with Tramp and stuff. And that got changed in the live action to where it flowed better. It made more sense. Cause yeah, Megan had to help us keep track of the events a lot more.
Yeah.
And
Like we were just like, wait, when did that happen? And then we like kept going back and forth on different events.
and if you're wondering why we're talking about this as if we did an episode on it, it's because
Did.
did do an episode on it, but because of some technical issues, we weren't able to make it an actual episode.
So listen up. It was not the mic new technology, but it was
It was a new tech issue.
yeah, it was a new tech issue. And the one time I did not save a recording on my phone because I also we did this today for good luck's sake, but I normally also have a separate recording of audio going on my phone. So that way, in case we lose sound, we have backup. The one time I forgot to do that
Yeah, so
and we lose the audio.
but so if that's why we decided to do this live action versus animation, which I'm honestly really enjoying comparing the
I
two.
just wish we had, because didn't Megan like the animated better?
Megan loved the animated.
Yeah.
So
So I was like, that'd be kind of nice just to have her here to, get more of that perspective. Cause I'm kind of in terms of animated, I just really liked the music a lot better, except for the Siamese cat song. That was a bit weird. But
I would agree with that for the most part. Like I agree. Like I have nothing bad against the original soundtrack except for the Siamese cat song. I just like the added jazz influences in this one because it added another layer to the story, like when
it gave more historical context, even though it's not the correct one of the animated. But
it added a lot more context to the scenery and like what the city they're in is like.
yeah, it gave the viewer more of that sensation
Mm,
of where they are.
yeah.
Setting the scene.
Yeah, it helped set the scene a lot more and create a fun mood of like an entertaining movie. Like I love that scene on the riverboat.
Yeah.
I really did love that scene. Um, but so when we did the live, when we were talking about the animated, me and you both kind of rated the like low B, high C level tier. Where would you put the live action?
Um,
I would say it's at least a solid B. Like it's a really good movie.
I was gonna put it at B tier just because Lady and the Tramp is just one of those movies that I don't watch frequently.
Agreed, same here.
But yeah, the live action would be better than the animated. Um,
I really enjoy liking watching the live action a lot more than the animated, for sure. But yeah, so I don't. Do you have anything else you wanna add regarding live action versus animated?
Other than you guys need to subscribe.
Yeah, please subscribe and
Like, send us comments. We want to
yes,
talk to you people.
yes, and honestly, send us feel free to send us pictures of your pets and stuff.
Oh yes, that's the one thing we said in the
Yes, we love pets. We love our pets, and we would love to see your guys' pets. So please
And if
share
you
your
have a
pets.
pet spider, make sure to put spider for Megan because Megan likes looking at spiders. We don't.
No, so if you have a pet spider,
Sorry, my hand
make
froze up.
give us a trigger warning, please.
Yes.
I'm really scared of spiders.
I am also scared. That was so weird. Sorry. That was like
But yeah, please subscribe. It just helps us grow this channel a little bit more so we can make more fun content for you guys. And check out the Patreon. So you guys can become a member and help us decide what all we want to watch, what all you want the episodes to be about for future podcast episodes, because we want to do more stuff that you guys are going to enjoy. So
help guide us to help better you.
Yes, help.
You are our audience. Like you make this podcast. You make this podcast.
It is true. And
we do this because we needed a good reason to hang out. We're friends and we love Disney. There's a common interest.
We do this because we love Disney and just want to talk about it.
And we're friends and we need good reasons to hang out. But you are the audience to the podcast.
You are friends of Disney too. And so
yeah, and you make up what you want to listen to.
If you want to see more live versus animated episodes, let us know in the comments below, because I personally really enjoy doing this, and if you guys enjoy doing it too, enjoy it as well, then we'd love to do it more, especially with Disney having a number of live action remakes. So, but yeah, thanks for everything, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, friends.